What's up YouTube? Welcome to this video. We're going to be running you over the stiff leg deadlift, the conventional deadlift and the Romanian deadlift. The differences between them, how to program them, why you would program them in different situations, and just basically clear up some things that everyone seems to be getting wrong. So without further ado, we're going to be getting into it, and let's get it. I hope you enjoy.
Alright, shoes always off when you deadlift. You're not going to have a heel raise, so it's not going to throw you off balance forwards. It's always going to keep you lower down to the bar. So if you're lower, you've got less distance to lift it. Now if we're doing a normal deadlift, we want to be like an inch away from the bar so that our knees can just about go over the bar. If we're doing a stiff leg deadlift, then I like to get my feet literally, my shins touching the bar or even underneath the bar so that when I push my hips back, I'm literally right in line. So main differences between RDL, stiff leg deadlift, and a normal deadlift. Stiff leg deadlift, from the floor up. So you're going to set it with your feet right underneath. You're going to push your hips back. And it's going to be all through the glutes and hamstrings with a hinge. Always put it at a dead stop at the bottom. It's not touch and go. It's always from the bottom up. Now if we want to go for Romanian deadlift, it's always from the top down. So it's going to be pretty similar mechanics to the stiff leg deadlift, apart from it never touches the floor. And it's from the top down. So ideally, you'd have it lifted up already off of a rack. So you'd step it back, you come to here, and you're going to push your hips back. Again, keeping your shins vertical, just like with the stiff leg deadlift. Don't let them come forwards at all, and it's all from the hips. When you start to get knees coming forwards, so now my shins are vertical, if they start to come over, you start to get more at the hip, more at the glutes, and less on the hamstrings. So I like to have mine hamstring focused. Okay, so now we're side on, you're going to see exactly what I mean about the shins, how vertical they are, and what kind of muscles they engage. So when we're doing the deadlift, our shins are going to have a little bit of forward displacement, so they're going to come a little bit. We've got that space between the bar. As you reach down, you close up that space, and you've got this knees coming over the bar. Now, if we're trying to do a stiff leg deadlift or Romanian deadlift with a hamstring bias, then we're going to want to keep our shins vertical. So notice the difference. Here's where I might be for a normal deadlift. Here's where I might be for a stiff leg deadlift. Slight little difference, but makes a big difference on the muscles used. Now, same with an RDL. If we want to keep it more hamstring biased, we're going to have our shins always vertical. We never let them come forwards. Shins always vertical. So that's going to hit more of our hamstrings. If we do want to get a bit more of a knee bend, like this, I don't really call that an RDL, but some people call that glute-focused RDL because it takes that tension off the hamstrings and puts it onto the glutes a little bit more. Okay, so stiff leg deadlift, muscles trained, predominantly glutes, hamstrings, and erectors. The RDL, exactly the same. It's just using a stretch shortening cycle, so you're actually not stopping at that bottom position. You're including the stretch at the bottom in the hamstrings and the glutes. Conventional deadlift, a bit more quads, a little bit less hamstrings, probably predominantly glutes, and a lower back exercise. Okay, so in terms of my programming, when do I use a deadlift, a stiff leg deadlift, a Romanian deadlift, and then a hamstring and glute focused for both of those? So pretty much always, I always go for a hamstring focused RDL. I don't really like too much of a knee bend. I feel like I may as well just do a deadlift. Okay, so when do I use these different types of deadlifts? So we've got the conventional deadlift, we've got a stiff leg deadlift with a hamstring bias, stiff leg deadlift with a glute bias, and then we've got an RDL with a glute bias and a hamstring bias. So as you can imagine, straighter the legs, the more hamstrings. So if you try and hamstring hypertrophy, you're going to go for that. More bend in the legs, going to be more glutes, probably more quads as well. So if you're looking for more glutes, go for a bit more of a knee bend. So for athletes, I never really go for a conventional deadlift. I like splitting up my squats and my hinges quite drastically. So you've got a squat and you've got something like a pure hinge, like an RDL. When you start combining the two and adding more knee bends into your hinges, I just feel like it messes up the programming and there's not much point. So if I'm asking for a stiff leg deadlift, in reality, it's going to be what the person can lift the most weight with, as long as it still looks like a hinge. If they don't have the mobility to have straighter legs, then have bendier legs. I'm not too bothered. Now, if I'm going for pure hypertrophy, I like a stiff leg deadlift or a Romanian deadlift. Again, not a conventional deadlift. I feel like the conventional deadlift really doesn't take specific muscles through a big range of motion. Doesn't mean it's not good for hypertrophy, but from a programming standpoint, I find that it's just better to not go with that. Conventional deadlifts are all right for strength and they're all right for size. However, if you are not training to get a better deadlift, I wouldn't do a conventional deadlift. There are other options that are going to put you in potentially less compromising positions. And by compromising, I don't mean you're going to get injured if you deadlift, but it can put some of your tissues through different ranges of motion that they're not quite used to, but also aren't replicated in the sport. And therefore, is it worth putting them through that stress? Maybe not. We're all about trying to lower fatigue and maximize performance, right?
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that very much. I did enjoy making it. I'm going to be trying to do some more of these like guide videos when I'm actually in the gym talking through things. I think it's a great way to get the information across as and when I'm thinking about it, and so that you guys can see exactly what I'm thinking as I go through everything. If you have any questions, pop them down below. And as always, if you want to see anything in the future, pop me a DM on Instagram, check out the website. The link to all my socials are down below. See you in a bit.